Hi guys, one question that I get asked a lot, and unfortunately every time I seem to disappoint people with my answer, is whether exercising our memory and learning new things can be used as an effective Alzheimer's prevention strategy. And there seem to be no studies and no scientific evidence that exercising memory and learning new things would actually prevent Alzheimer's. And I would always strongly encourage people to exercise their memory and to learn all the time new things, like learning a new language, because it is the best way to prevent the aging of the brain, which is an inevitable process and which becomes quite dangerous once we turn 50. So by all means, do exercise your memory and do learn things all the time, but please don't look at it as an Alzheimer's prevention strategy. And I also realized that there is a misconception that Alzheimer's is a memory-related neurodegenerative disease, and the memory impairment only tells a very small fraction of what Alzheimer's is and how it affects the brain. And one explanation that I found in Dr. Dale Bradson's book, The End of Alzheimer's, and I think it's a very easy to understand, is that when the brain is faced, in case of Alzheimer's, with an external threat, which can be an infection which affects the brain, which can be diabetes, an intoxication with heavy metals, what happens is that the brain has to use its resources in order to fight this external threat. And if it doesn't have enough resources, it has to sacrifice some of its functions. And it sends out the beta amyloid, the infamous hallmark of Alzheimer's disease, as a human resources manager, an HR manager who is in charge with firing the personnel. And because the brain is so smart, it starts by sacrificing or letting go of functions which it considers as non-essential. And for the brain, short-term memory, spatial orientation, reading, writing, computing, executive functions are considered non-essential compared to breathing, to walking, to eating, the capacity to get dressed by ourselves and to feed ourselves. So in the first stage of Alzheimer's, short-term memory becomes impaired because this is a non-essential function of the brain. As the disease progresses towards the more advanced stages of Alzheimer's, the brain has lesser and lesser resources to fight this external threat, and it ends up sacrificing ultimately even the essential resources. And this is why we see patients no longer being able to feed themselves, to use the restroom, to get dressed by themselves. Their walking becomes impaired. Long-term memory is also affected, and ultimately and tragically, people forget how to breathe. So Alzheimer's, referring to Alzheimer's strictly as a memory-related issue, is a very incomplete reference or definition of the disease. So to sum up, exercising our brain, working our memory, learning new things, this is unbelievably important for the overall health of our brain. And this is the best strategy to fight the aging process. But unfortunately, it is not a strategy to prevent Alzheimer's disease. When we speak about prevention, we have to think, first of all, about nutrition. We have to think about our sleep hygiene. Physical exercise is probably the number one ally in the prevention of Alzheimer's disease. And also, we have to think about stress management. This is what I wanted to share with you guys today. Have a great Sunday, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.